Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on Lockdown Monday here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go up to our friends over in Queensland in particular and of course speak to the University of Queensland Athletics Club. And of course, in particular, this particular athlete is a long distance runner. And of course, she joins right now up in Brisbane. Of course, her name is Samantha Phillips. Thanks, Sam, for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me.
No worries. Well, tell us a bit about how you've been going this year in 2020 in regards to athletics.
Obviously this year's looked a little bit different with COVID. Probably the same response as most people have been saying and experiencing. But I guess the start of the year we had sort of goals, I guess, for the season and races that were going to happen. And then that's obviously all been cancelled and whatnot. So this year's just looked like a big base training, I guess. So just trying to stay fit and healthy and keep training through, ready for when something does come up.
Tell us, when was the last event that you competed in and how did you go in that?
I think that was probably in February. It was a 3K track race, Queensland Champs. I think I came about 5th in that. That was too long ago, I can't remember it. But so 3K is a little bit shorter than what I usually would like to race. But so that's always a bit of fun just to go out there and do a track race. But yeah, that was probably the last one I competed in.
It's going to be a long time ago now. It's 7 months exactly. I guess, what have you been doing within the last 7 months during, I guess, no competitions, obviously with the COVID lockdown that you had at the start of the year? What sort of thing have you been trying to do to keep yourself motivated to hopefully get back on the track and compete once there's some sort of competition?
So I guess for me it was just taking it back to enjoyment for running. It was kind of nice to just sort of take a step back and still train hard, but not have, I guess, the pressure of a race coming up or having to be fit and ready to go for a particular race. It was kind of nice just to go back to run of why you like to run, I suppose, and what motivates you to keep going in the first place. Like, why did you start? So for me, motivation wasn't a real issue because I just enjoyed getting out there and still being able to do what I love to do. Where a lot of these other sports, say if you were a swimmer, the pools got closed, so you couldn't go and do your sport. But we were lucky enough, even if it was for an hour, if that's all we were allowed out for, I could still go out and do my sessions. So I guess, motivation-wise, it was more of just that I love to run, and it was kind of nice to have a bit of a break from racing and the pressure of that, I guess.
Now, you mentioned about athletes being quite a unique sport for the fact that obviously, as you mentioned, other sports either had to postpone or shut down completely with training. Obviously, athletes, you can do that because with running and exercise. I guess, how good is that to know that, athletics and especially yourself got a bit of an advantage over everyone else that had to completely?
So that was it was kind of nice to, I don't know, I guess not have to find something else to do. Like I know a few swimmers and they started running or they were just working more in their home gyms and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was kind of nice to, I know we picked the right sport sort of thing, I guess I was thinking, but so I don't know, an advantage or not, I'm not sure how you put it, but yeah, I guess COVID worked in our favor.
Now, I'm assuming, obviously, Queensland is a lot different than what is down here in Melbourne at the moment in regards to restrictions-wise. I guess I'm assuming that you've been back to the track since Queensland's opened up. And I guess how difficult has that been to sort of adapt to training on the track with especially all the COVID protocols and procedures that come with it?
I think I've actually been on the track only once since we're allowed back on there. We've still been doing a lot of like trail work and road running sort of stuff. But I guess it's been a bit harder our local track at UQ just opened for club members only. So it wasn't as easy, I guess, to access the track. But then there was only a minority of people that could use the track. So there was only a select few. So in that regard, it was kind of normal, to be honest. Like we were kind of just allowed to do our same training squads. As long as we like checked in and said we were there sort of thing, it was pretty normal actually.
Now, tell us a bit about your coach and I guess what have you learned from being under that coach?
So I train with Jaden Russ, Brisbane Athletics Academy up here. We just train based out of UQ, which is really good. I guess, what has Jaden taught me? He's, I don't know, he's always looking at, I guess, the positives of things. So say if you don't hit the exact session, the times that you're supposed to, it's more of the effort. So you showed up, you put in the effort, that's what you had in the day. It's still going to, obviously, you're banking kilometre Ks, you're banking fitness, that sort of stuff. Like eventually it'll all come together. So I guess so the main part would be that he's sort of, showed me that not everything's always perfect, but it's showing up and putting in the work that's more important than the exact number or the end result.
Now, of course, I had a chance to speak to fellow UQ athlete in Caitlin Sargent, who's an Olympian. And obviously she mentioned that obviously it's been difficult in regards to trying to prepare for some sort of competition. I guess, do you have any competitions coming up yourself that you're preparing for?
Not really at the moment. I guess there's a few races that are starting to happen again. There's a few track races, which is really cool. But nothing major, I guess. There's a few just road races, that sort of stuff. So I guess whatever sort of comes up, I'll jump in. If I can, like, just race. I just love to race again, sort of thing. We're all itching just to get out there. So major competition-wise, there's nothing really on the radar yet, but any race that pops up, I just love to jump in to get that experience again.
Now, I know I'm going to ask the most silliest question I'm going to ask. Now, as I mentioned, I did interview, of course, one of the athletes there at EQ, Caitlin. Number one, how special is to have someone like Caitlin at the club who's had the experience of going to Olympics? And is that something you want to do in the future?
Yes, I guess everyone's dream is to hopefully try and make the Olympics one day. That's the ultimate goal. But yeah, just having someone like Caitlin around. I remember I used to work at the UQ track, so I would like sell the wristbands and take the admin as people would come through. And Caitlin would always come through and I'm like, oh, I feel like, I recognize her, like, who's she? And like, we'd always be nice, sort of thing. And I think when I found out who she actually really was, it was so cool to, sell her a wristband every Saturday morning when she come through. So just sort of having that inspiration, I guess, it was cool to see. And then I could stand up there and watch her train and see how hard she can push herself. And a lot of it was solo sometimes. And so, yeah, I just hats off to her. She was out there every Saturday in the boiling heat. Just training, working hard. So it's kind of nice to see what it takes from an athlete like her.
Now, how did you get involved in athletics and why did you choose it?
So I guess when I was little, I went to little athletics, those sorts of things. I had 3 sisters. So mum used to always take us out there. It was Saturday morning. We'd all just go out. It was just sort of trying to keep us all tame. I guess she didn't have to look after us, all 4 of us, for a few hours. So yeah, I don't know, I enjoyed running. I enjoyed competing, that sort of thing. I played all sports growing up. So basketball was my second main sport. But I always loved the pre-season and the punishment runs more than sometimes the training itself. So I think that's where I thought, oh no, I think it's more about the running that I enjoy rather than the actual basketball side of things. So that was in Tasmania. So I moved up here to Queensland to start study about 4 years ago, and then sort of quit basketball and just focused on athletics up here and haven't really looked back since, I guess.
Now, you gave me a perfect question I'm going to ask you. Now, you mentioned that you have sisters, of course, in your family. Do either of them still involved in athletics? And if so, who's the better athlete?
I'm actually the only one that's sort of taken running as like a pathway, but I would definitely beat them all, hands down. But yeah.
Now, what would be some of your athletics highlights?
For me, it would be making World University Games in the half marathon in 2019. So last year, that was probably one of my biggest achievements, and just getting the experience of traveling with an Australian team and competing on that sort of world stage, I guess. So that was in Italy, which was awesome too, a bit of travel. And then this year I made the World University cross country team. We're supposed to go to Morocco in March, but that got postponed and then further cancelled. But that would have been, I don't know, a big highlight too. I was kind of excited to go and do a camel tour or something after the race, but that would have been an experience because the cross country would have been, I don't know, a real cross country sort of thing, like with water jumps and mud and sand. So that would have been a highlight, I'm sure. But yeah, so probably World University Games last year.
Now, I know in Brisbane in particular, and being from Brisbane myself, is that there's tons of hills and mountains everywhere, wherever you go in Brisbane. I'm sure that's really great preparation for something like cross country.
Yes, definitely. We've got, I'm lucky enough to have Mount Cootha just up the road here. So if you're from Brisbane, you obviously know that sort of that area. So that's good for like trail running, and often we go up there and do a hill session. Actually, Jaden makes us go out there on a Saturday morning, which isn't always fun, but it's definitely good preparation for yeah, cross country season, which is probably why I like cross country and road racing a bit more than track, I suppose.
Now, you mentioned about the World Uni representative, of course, being representing Australia. What did that mean to you to don the Australian athlete jersey?
Yeah, it was really exciting. It's sort of something I've always, obviously, you dream of it as a growing up in any sport you want to do. It's kind of the pinnacle. But oh no, it was cool just to put it on and just represent Australia. It meant a lot to me. It wasn't the best race I've ever had in Italy. It was very hot and I don't know, it was a tough race, but we got through it. But just I don't know, kind of having everyone back in Australia watching, or family and friends, because I had a live stream there. Yeah, it meant a lot. It was cool. It was a great experience.
Now, you must tell us what distance is your favourite distance to run and what's your personal best time?
So my favorite distance is probably it's either a 10K or a half marathon. I'm still on the edge of that, but yeah, 10K my PB is 34:34, and for a half marathon it's 1:16:43.
And what are you trying to beat once you get back into competition?
I think I'll try and focus on the 10K distance a little bit more, try and get that down a little bit, and maybe even a bit shorter with the track season, like my 5K time. I'd like to bring that down a little bit too.
Long distance running and all that, is it more mental or physical?
Definitely physical, I reckon. I mean mental, sorry. I don't know, there's probably, when you get to the elite level, the ability difference is very small, it's very minute, but it's who's got the strongest mental game that can push through the furthest, who can sort of hit that red line, that red zone, I guess, and maintain that pain for the longest, who can sort of push through, yeah, better than the next person, I guess, is the difference between winning and losing sometimes.
Now, what does the sport of athletics mean to you, and especially being there at UQ?
To me, I guess running's kind of just like, it's a way of escaping, I guess. It's sort of in whenever you go for a run, it's just, it's you and your own feet, I guess. It's kind of just the only time in the day ever. It's just you focusing on yourself and sort of freedom. Nothing else is happening. It's just, whether it's an hour run or if it's like 1K rep session, like sort of thing. I don't know, it's just mentally battling yourself. So for me, it's kind of a way to escape and, yeah, freedom sort of thing. And having the UQ right here, the support that UQ provides, and the UQ Athletics Club, it's great environment as well. So I guess it's a connection, it's the friendships that you build throughout running, which I know a lot of it's individual sort of sport, like I've said, but then once you finish, it's the group you're with and the facilities that are around you. It's amazing. So the friendship connection that you can build is also really special.
Now, you mentioned obviously represent in the World Union representative and all that sort of thing, and what you want to do in the future. Is there like, do you now have yourself set a short and long term goals?
Yes, normally I like to set goals. I like to tick things off once I achieve things, even if it's just a daily to-do list, which is brush my teeth for the day. I just like to have something to tick off. Um, this year kind of looks a little bit different. I guess long-term goals, I'd love to make another Australian team or in the future. But short-term, I guess it's kind of staying healthy, staying fit, just trying to get through each week, I guess, sort of thing, and sort of maintain a good level of fitness for when something does come up.
What would be your advice to our listeners out there that should get involved in athletics?
I think, no, definitely do it. Running, it's a great sport. I think start slow though. Obviously, it's great. Even I get caught up. You see what other people are doing, or these really elite athletes, and like, oh, they do this, so I should do that too. And then that's when obviously injuries and stuff can happen. So take it slow, ease into it. not something you can kind of just go from 0 to 100. So yeah, each week sort of building into it and stuff, but go together to find friends, find if it even just a social running group, find a few people that want to just go out for a 20-minute jog or something. It's the connections of friendship too that's really special, I think, about the running community. Everyone sort of suffers in the same way, but at the end of it, you can all bond over that suffering, I suppose.
Now let's finish on a couple light-hearted questions now. Any embarrassing moments that you've done yourself?
I think maybe just like tripping over or something in a track race once in a 5K. It was my first ever 5K track race. I'll say I got tripped, but I probably just trod on someone's the back of their foot and just sort of went down, had grazes all up my arms and knees and stuff. And that was in the second lap. So a 5K is 12 and a half laps. So I had a long way to go. So that was probably more painful than embarrassing, but yeah, it was kind of like blood dripping down as you're finishing a race. But yeah, so any sort of tripping over, I guess, stories are always embarrassing.
Now, who's the comedian in your squad?
Probably can't say myself. Probably my coach. Jaden likes to always make things lighthearted and nothing's ever too serious, like I said. So he likes to, I know, sometimes it's not funny when you're mid-session and you're dying and he's trying to be funny, but at the end of it, it's always funny.
Any good singers or dancers in your squad that we should know about?
No, we're all pretty terrible actually down there from the Athletics Academy. No, no dancers in the making, that's for sure.
Now, we mentioned about embarrassing for yourself. Have you seen anyone doing any embarrassing things themselves?
I think it's always funny when you're running past and you see someone just duck off to the side of the path down into the bushes because sort of, I don't know, a bit of a toilet stop or something is always funny, and they look around to make sure no one's there and you've seen them. But we've all been through that. I'm sure if any runners are out there, they know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's always, I think, pretty funny if you notice them and they think they've got away with it.
Do you have a pre-competition superstition or ritual?
I guess I'm always the lucky undies, lucky socks sort of person, and crop top or whatever uniform you sort of have to wear. And that kind of cycles through. If you have a good race or a session in a pair of socks, I'll, keep using those ones for the important races. But then once you have a bad one, they move on and you find a new pair. So I guess, yeah, just sort of if it's working, I just sort of keep with the same sort of socks and undies. But yeah, that's about it.
Do you have a pump-up song before any meets?
I do listen to music before. It sort of depends on what I haven't played too much going into the race, I guess. And what's the new song I found. I kind of find a song and play that for 2 weeks to death, and then I get sick of it and find a new one. But yes, I don't have one specific song, but anything that is pump up, I like to listen to.
The COVID lockdown that you've had, did you try anything new? And do you have a hidden talent that you didn't think you had?
I didn't really, actually. I wanted to grow a plant or something. I thought that could be like my little project over the COVID lockdown, but I never got around to buying a plant. So still don't have a hidden talent in looking after anything. I had a few ambitions and I was going to start knitting or try and knit something, but that didn't happen either. So no talents have been found yet.
I'm sure they'll come up very soon. And we'll finish off with one last one, which is for anyone that should follow your progress on social media, how can they go about following you on the socials?
So I'm on mainly Instagram and a bit of Facebook, I suppose. And if any runners are out there, Strava's obviously where a lot of people post their runs. So I'm Sammy Phillips _ on Instagram, and then just Samantha Phillips on Facebook and Strava.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for getting up your time to join us. It's awesome having you on the show. Obviously, we want to wish you all the best for the next competition and beyond. Hopefully, we'll get to see you on the podium again very soon, especially representing Australia in any of the competitions that you're involved in.
No worries. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And that's Samantha Phillips there from the UQ Athletics Club. Of course, if you're in Queensland, especially, of course, in the Brisbane area, make sure you do get down to St. Lucia, of course, one of the best venues I've been to in athletics. Of course, make sure you get down there and have a go in the sport, especially just in time for summer. There's more on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away. Here on Lockdown Monday.